Hey, so yeah, someone was asking me, do I notice it anymore, the tinnitus? And it's pretty amazing. Like, I just don't think about it hardly at all anymore. It's the same loudness. It's just like I can hear it now. There's a high pitched sound, something like that, and it's always there. It's not quite hissing. It's just high pitched, and but it's like I don't think about it anymore. And I think there's something about the brain and its chemistry and how the brain treats things to be a threat. So when we first get tinnitus and we have this sound, our brain classifies it as a threat that it's going to harm us. And then we have a lot of intense thoughts about how bad this thing is. And then we have nerves that go between our ears and our brain, and that network gets very strong where it really helps our brain to pay attention very closely to this sound, so much so that we can't think of anything else because our brain thinks of this sound as a big threat to us. And then the next thing is that when we're not able to solve this threat, we're not able to make it go away, a sense of hopelessness sets in, a sense of depression. There's an anxiety about how the sound will never go away. And all those things, work with our emotions, and as we have emotions, the chemistry of our body changes, where we can't sleep, or we have an increased heart rate, anxiety, and other things like headaches or body aches. All these things can accompany the tinnitus. So what to do about it? It's not easy, especially if you don't really have a lot of information to go on. I think a lot of people go to the doctor and they have their ears checked, and the doctor says, well, your ears are okay, or maybe you have a little bit of hearing loss, but overall you're fine, and maybe you'll get used to it, or maybe you can buy an expensive hearing aid. And then things like that don't really solve the problem. And then people turn to sources online, and they read Reddit or something like that, and they hear some stories of people who are really affected by tinnitus, and they are hopeless, or they are, not necessarily giving information that makes one think that things can get better. And then there are some different things that people sell. It might be some medications. It could be CBD or some special formula. It could be a class that you take. One person was saying the other day how they spent, I believe it was about $130. Was it a 30-minute session, I believe, for $130 to help someone get past tinnitus. I remember I even took some videos where you do some weird thing with your hands, and then you tap the back of your head, and then that would somehow help my tinnitus go away. But the thing is, when we get to where we feel this tinnitus is a threat, we start seeking all the different ways that we could possibly find to make it go away. And if someone is feeling hopeless, and then they try these things, and then they don't work, they can feel even more hopeless. So I'm just trying to illustrate the story that I've heard a lot, because a lot of people have a similar story. And then some people, a large number of people, they start to say, I think I'm getting this. I'm starting to get a grip, and I'm okay. And I remember, a few months back, a lot of my videos were just about first realizing that the sound is not a threat. You're not going to die because of it. um, something really tragic or something's not going to happen to you because you have this sound. And just having that realization, just knowing that nothing's bad is going to become of it. You do have a sound, yes, but nothing bad is going to become of it. That is kind of the first step in sort of starting to reset your body's chemistry. Because when your brain thinks this thing is a threat, then it acts quite differently. It makes it hard to sleep, gives us the anxiety. And just acknowledging it is not a threat, and then really repeating that to yourself. It's not a threat. It's not going to harm me. And really just knowing that nothing is going to happen because of this sound. It will start to make it where your brain isn't so tuned into this thing. And then, as I remember even earlier on, I made a lot of videos about getting your brain onto other topics, drawing, languages, reading, and many more things, where you spend some period of time where you just try your absolute best to focus on that thing, reading. Say you're reading a book, and if you need to, speak aloud each word. And maybe your brain starts thinking about the tinnitus, but no, you keep going back and you read each and every word, and you speak that word, and you're saying it, and you're trying your darndest to get where you're thinking about the words in the book. It could be drawing a drawing. It could be memorizing some language, some sentences in a new language. It could be singing a song. But all those activities, we're trying to then start teaching the brain that yes, indeed, not only is this thing not a threat, but I can do other things and be fine doing them. But you kind of have to sort of make yourself do it at first, because it doesn't come natural, because you're so inclined to keep going back to the thought of the tinnitus. So, these activities can be really integral in getting you to the next level. And I'd say when you get where you've done those two things pretty well, I've left off some things like having a background noise, which I have now most of the time. Like if I turn it off, nothing, I'm not going to freak out or anything. I'll be fine in silence, but it's just kind of nice having that for me. But if you do those two things effectively, you should be well on your way to being at least next level in dealing with it. I mean, you may be like you're absolutely going to find a way to make this tinnitus go away. That's fine. I want you to have that dream. I want you to seek it. But mentally, if we can get to the next level, there is a certain, this word habituation that takes place where you get where you're managing yourself better. You're able to get through the day, and you're able to have longer and longer periods of time where the tinnitus is not in your thoughts. I really liked my idea the other night about, sorry to give myself such praise, but I liked my video the other night about the street noise. I was outside, and it was quite loud that night, and I find myself looking at my phone, and I talked to a customer on the phone for a few minutes, and it was loud outside, but I had absolutely no problem focusing on talking on the phone, just looking at the phone. I wasn't thinking about how the street noise was, problematic and stopping me. Maybe a little bit, because maybe that was a little bit loud, but I was able to function. And I kind of felt like, well, this street noise is actually a good deal louder than my tinnitus. I think the difference with the tinnitus is it's inside your brain, and you're like, oh my God, it's inside my brain. But still, it's just another noise, and you can learn to adapt to it being there. And it's just kind of, it can start to fade into the background of your thinking. It's still there, just like the street noise. But, say you're playing a sport on the field, and there's cars going by all the time. You're able to play the sport, you're able to do what you need to do. So you can do the same thing with tinnitus. It's just there's a little bit of a step-by-step process. And yes, I have reached a point where I just don't think about it. And like, actually, I kind of don't hear it sometimes, It's there. And it's actually quite loud, but it's just kind of like it's gotten so like not important to me. And when I do hear it, it's kind of like, okay, who cares, I don't have any reason to think about it for a long time here, other than I probably need to make another tinnitus video, because people are asking me to do that. So I want to help, because I went through so much myself, and I want to try to give you some clues that might help you get to a better place and just have a normal life again. I'm doing great. I think I can say that over and over again, and it's actually good for me and you. So, okay. Well, I'll talk to you next time. This is my tinnitus video. I try to do one every day, but sometimes I skip some days. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.